Are we on? Are we on? Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Pooh Harding. And oh boy, we have a very, very special guest. This basketball head is a New York City legendary coach who started out as an all-city player for Saint Raymond's High Schools for Boys in the Bronx, where he helped lead them to a city championship title. He earned the name Book as a child, but on the court, it was for his quick hands and defense, which frustrated opponents, while also being one of the city's leaders in assists. After high school, he attended Florida Atlantic University, where he collected 81 assists and was named to the all-freshman team. Then he came back home to attend Monroe College in the Bronx, where he would again lead the team in assists with 11.3 per outing, and also leading his team to a school record 28-3. Once he was done at Monroe, he earned a scholarship to attend the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, where he led all NCAA Division II players in assists in both his junior and senior year, recording junior year 8.7 and senior year 9 assists per game, which made him consistent All-American respectively, for sure. After his college career was over, he became a graduate assistant at the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. He then returned back home again to coach at another alma mater, which is Monroe College. Then he had a stint at St. Ray's under legendary coach Gary DeCaesar. So you already know he was taught a lot by some great coaches, especially Coach Gary D. He also became director and coach at the legendary Gauchos AAU program, where he had his finger on the pulse of some of New York City's best players during that time, like Kemba Walker, Chris Fouch, Jordan Theodore, and Darryl Bryant. That team would win tournaments in South Carolina, Arizona, and Vegas. After a successful AAU run, he parlayed that into a coaching job at Marist and Xavier University before his stint with Arizona University, or the University of Arizona. Either way you put it, I'm going to let him tell his story, because we're not going to listen to the news, because we got the man here to tell his own story tonight. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the show Saint Raymond's great, University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown All-American, and New York City legendary coach Emmanuel Book Richardson.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos, where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's happening, Book? How you doing, brother?
Oh, what's good? How are you, my brother?
I'm doing well, man. Hope I serve you some justice on that intro I gave you.
I was like a little kid, man. I was happy, and I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show. Watched a couple episodes, and thank you for what you're doing for New York City, the state, but thank you for what you're doing for the culture of basketball.
Appreciate you, brother. And behind me, I had to have New York City legend Rod Strickland just overlooking the whole process, man. And congratulations to Rod Strickland on his coaching job at LIU. Salute to you, bro. Yeah, man.
That's the big homie.
Oh, for sure. Let me tell you a quick story real quick. I played Empire State games with Rod Strickland. And it's so crazy how the Most High worked, because we was on a fast break. I think it was like a 3-on-2. And it was me. I forgot who the other person, maybe it was Dow Militer, somebody else. But he decided to come to my side. And I was saying to myself, oh, God, make sure you catch this ball and finish, Pooh. Make sure you catch and finish. And they just happened to put that in the write-up in the paper. It was like towards the end of the game. And I was the youngest guy on the team. I was just going to left MCI, going to Fairleigh Dickinson. And in my mind, I'm going, oh, he's picking me to come to. You know what that is, Book, because you're a point guard. You got a choice who to go to. There you go. Exactly what he did. And I finished, man. And, you know, that.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. You won a gold medal, man. So that was dope.
Yeah. That is dope.
Yeah. So I want to jump right into this, man. Who introduced you to the game?
Man, I honestly want to say Tommy Swinton introduced me to the game. He took me, you know, as far as he could take me. Mike Sereno, God rest his soul, with Riverside Church. So, you know, you start off with TS Bucks, and we, you know, I started at Dunleavy Millbank Center. So I had a coach named Michael Wright. But Tom came in, and, you know, we were the TS Bucks, and we played small fry. We played 5'1" and under on 8-foot rims. And Jerry McCullough and myself were the 4 and 5 man. We played power forward and center. So I was introduced to basketball,
right.
at that age, and, you know, I played football, I played baseball. So, but basketball, you know, became my true love.
Yo, Book, you don't know how many times guys that came up here and said, you know, I just didn't play basketball. I played football, played baseball. Me too. I just, the other night, showed guys my little Heisman that I won playing, you know, bitty football.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Lincoln to play football and made the basketball team by, I don't know how, but anyway, it's crazy. But to hear guys talk about they play football and basketball, multiple sports, because that was our training ground. That's how we got our bodies in shape.
So I played with the Road Runners, and was pretty good. And you know, but the easiest thing and the more convenient thing was basketball, because, you know, you didn't need more than 2 people. You know, you wanted to play one-on-one, and, you know, if you just had 2 people in football, you at least needed 3. You know, pass around, and, you know, one-on-one. You had the official quarterback, but, you know, overall, basketball became my love. It was a true team sport for me, and like I said, I was fortunate because I had a guy by the name of Jubu Odom and Gary and Tariq Campbell. You know, we lived in 149th Street between 7th and 8th, and again, they played, so they took me everywhere with them. You know, I was able to see Kenny Anderson at 12 because Kenny was uptown. I got to see a lot of people because I was with those guys. And, you know, Gary and Tariq, you know, Gary went to Dartmouth, Tariq went to Harvard. Jubal, you know, Jubal was a jack of all trades, but he took care of me.
That's dope, man. What part of uptown are you from? Because I hear you mention Harlem, and I hear you mention the Bronx.
You know, again, so I'm gonna make sure that Anthony Ross, because I don't want no smoke. He always says, no, he's from Brooklyn. Listen.
Oh, you got Brooklyn too? You got Brooklyn ties?
So Ross says throw all that stuff out. I grew up in a lot of different places. I lived in 117th Street between 7th and Lenox. I lived in St. Nick Projects, 129th Street. I lived in Grant Houses with Mike Sereno and Annette Sereno, who was like a mom to me. I lived on 149th between 7th and 8th. I lived in the Polo Grounds. So I moved around a lot as a kid. I also lived in Yonkers. And then, like I said, once I got to high school, you know, my 8th grade year, it was Bronx strong. You know, it was Clay Avenue. And like I said, that's kind of, it's just weird for me because I've lived in every borough except Staten Island. So, you know, I was born in Queens. I got a lot of ties in Brooklyn. I mean, a lot. And even like I said, through Riverside Church, you know, I had a kid on my team, you know, Jeff, you know, he was from Brownsville. So you talk about 13 years old being in Brownsville, not realizing like, man, it's a jungle.
That's right. That's right.
I remember the first time going to Coney Island, you know, and I went to CI and I was like, this is another planet, because again, you talk about 13, 14 years old, you taking the D to the last stop. Like, nah, this is I'm good. I'm good.
No, we call Coney Island the Uptown of Brooklyn. Because everybody got a nickname at like 3 years old, and everyone's a prodigy early. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a totally different place. Salute to all my people on Coney Island for sure. I got family out there too. That's real. Where did the name Pocketbook come from?
So when I was 8 months old, I always used to play in my grandmother's pocketbook, always grab it. And as I got older, you couldn't be a tough guy in New York City with the nickname Pocketbook. So it's shortened to Book. And it was funny because God rest his soul, Tom Konchowski, one time he was like, we're going to call you Book. His Pocketbook is, and it was pretty cool. And then people say, oh, well, why they call you Book? Because you're smart. Yeah, I ran with it. But it was Pocketbook at 8 months old. Always just play my grandmother's Pocketbook. And the running joke was always, hey, if you have kids, like your daughter will be, purse, change purse. So it stuck with me. And like I said, it wasn't one of those nicknames that I had given myself. It was, my grandmother, God rest her soul, and it stuck.
And then you had the late, great, legendary Tom Konchowski shorten it for you and put that stamp on it.
I had no idea what he was doing. But, again, if I could ever be as half the person he is and half the evaluator he is, man, that would be a dream come true. But I'm extremely fortunate to have guys like Tom Konchowski, but also guys like Dwayne Mitchell. I remember Dwayne Mitchell when I was 14, meeting at Albee Square Mall in Brooklyn, going to a BC camp.
Wow. The bus, they take that bus right there on Flatbush Avenue. Yeah,
No
yes.
doubt.
Facts.
No doubt.
Yes.
So I, big up to Mitch. So Mitch has been doing this for a long time.
Well, those processes of, the BC camps, the NYC basketball, CYO basketball, Big Apple, all of those things they were like our training grounds. There was, different levels of it, but still we had that option. But minus the BC camp, let's just talk about the New York stuff, like the Big Apple, NYC tournaments, and CYO early on when kids got to play. I didn't hear about Small Fry until my best friend, who was Paco Screen's brother, Larry Timblake, told me about it when we got to Fairleigh Dickinson, talking about Small Fry and all these tournaments uptown. And I was just blown away, man. Sun Devils and all those things like that.
So, you think about Harlem, the Bronx, you had the Gauchos, you had Riverside, you had the Sun Devils, you had the Bucks, and, you had Madison Square Broncos with Doc Naselli.
I'm a Bronco guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, you had so much talent. And I've always said this now, Pooh, when was the last time a kid had to truly make a team? And so with that being said, my girl, she always messes with me because, she argues now with me about, tryouts. And and I'm saying, they're different. Whereas before you made a team, now it's kind of, if you don't make a team, well, you go someplace else and you go there. There's so many teams.
Yes.
And I think what it does, it waters down the product. And I say this all the time. We've monetized the game at a very early age. Paul, when you grew up, you had to make a team, and when you made a team, you competed. We won boys of yesteryear. You played in citywide.
Citywide.
Like you played in those things and you competed because it wasn't about winning anything nationally if you couldn't win it locally. Now we don't even play locally. We just, hey, I'll meet you up at Spooky Nuke and we'll play Saturday at 2, and it's like, so I'm sorry.
So that's well, I'm just shaking my head because I just was speaking to John Arnold the other day, and he said the same exact thing.
Yeah.
He said the same exact thing as far as, there's so many teams in the watering down of the product. Right? We have to play against whole states with scattered players. Right? You knew what the talent was in those certain AAU programs and how far you can go because all the talent was in a certain group of teams.
Yep.
And now they're everywhere, and it kind of, lessens the impact.
And I'm not sure about, the pride in terms of winning a national championship. whether it was the AAU National Championship or the BCI National Championship. It was one of those things where you took pride where I always remember wearing a Riverside jacket or a Gaucho jacket, or you had one of those bags of jackets. You were not considered elite, but you were considered a hooper. And again, if you were on the B team or one of those teams, you were still a really good player. Because I always go back to you got your travel team would have a couple of all cities, a couple of all states, a couple of all Americans.
Yep. Each team.
That's how your teams look. And when you took 10 guys, you were able to when you came off the bench with someone, it was like, wow, man, that guy, he may not be as tall, but he's just as good. And I just think in my short time being back, that's no longer the focus. The focus is, hey, can my kid, the phone, everyone's the phone, and you're uploading it, and I get it. I'm not upset about that. What I'm saying is it's just a different time in terms of basketball.
I heard you mention something earlier watching with the CGN guys. Salute to them, man. They do an excellent job, man.
Homies.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned something far as trainers, and it's not the knock because I got a couple of friends that are very good trainers versus playing with the older guys.
I've always said, first and foremost, I want to make sure that I'm crystal clear. There are a ton of really good trainers.
Yeah.
Not only they're good trainers, they're good people, they're good coaches. What I've said was we've taken that away from the teacher, the coach, and you spend more time with the trainer. Now, again, in the trainer's defense, he's doing a job.
Yep.
But you have to learn how to play, right? You have to understand with a 3-on-2. Think about it, Pooh. 3-on-2, you knew, Rod got it to you, but I tell you this, Rod got it to you when you could catch it and score it. He didn't throw it at your feet. He didn't
exactly.
get like first and then dish it.
Exactly.
The goal was to score so you could win. There was a goal in place. And like I said, these kids are super skilled. They started them a little earlier, but it's been monetized. And that's all I'm saying. Like, do I have anything? Like, there's some great trainers. Like, I'm telling you, Jerry Powell's one of the best in the world.
That's friend of the show.
One of the best in the world. Pat Quinn, who's out in Atlanta, one of the best in the world. I don't like, Chris Brickley. He does a great job with the guys that come in, especially the older dude. Like, I don't have an issue. My overall with the quote unquote trainer. My issue turns into, I think as parents, we get so caught up with, we want the result. We're not concerned about the process, right? Pooh, it's about the process.
Yes.
Because whatever your process is, that will kind of dictate your result. Everyone's results driven. Great, no problem. But again, I'm telling you, if you spent more time, because think about this, man, and I also said this on CGN, we don't watch a lot of basketball.
No.
You read Street and Smith. I don't have to know. I know you did.
Hold on, book. Show you how beat up it is. Look, here you go. This is Street Smith right here.
Yeah. That's how we knew who was good.
Yep.
And then, by the way, we didn't have the cheat code of seeing them. Now I had to realize who Travis Best was. This dude's really good. He can score it. And therefore, guess what? Now you're competing. I didn't try to team up with Travis. I wasn't good enough, so I had to play against him. Terrence Rensham, my backcourt mate, lefty was a problem. It was, like I said, it was so many guys that were ahead or behind on the same year, man. The talent was through the roof. So that's why I don't have. We were our own trainers. What we did was we watched Rod Strickland go in and out crossover, and we worked on that. Yeah. You watch Pac-Man. I mean, you watch Pearl. Like, I'm getting chills. You watch Pac-Man go in and out, boom, cross. Like, you watched him do that. You watch Mark Jackson no look. You watch Chris Mullin pull up three. You watch Lloyd no look. They were the kind of the trainer, because, like I said, it was creativity. It was a feel. It was the older dude. Pooh, you knew if you took a bad shot, the older dude was letting you know, Pooh, don't take that shot again.
That's right. It was the rite of passage to kind of, like, you had to learn how to get on the court first. Then you had to learn how to stay on the court. Then you had to be able to get picked once you come to the park. So I think all of those things are missing right now.
And that's why I said, because the last thing in the world I want to do, because I do understand that sometimes my word is much bigger than I want it to be, and sometimes it's not, which is fine. But I don't ever want it to be like I'm shaming against any trainer.
No.
It's not, because again, part of it, I would love to help any young trainer, old trainer, because I'm a part of the village. I want the product to be good. I want the kid to be good, whether he plays with the Gauchos or not. If there's a kid in New York City who's supposed to be good, then let's do our job as the adults, as the elders, to make sure that kid gets the way he's supposed to get to. That's what it's about.
Like I said, I put the headline, New York City legendary coach, but I also said he brought that feeling back to New York City basketball. And like what you said, it's a feeling. No, this is me, because I'm the one that's promoting. So this and it's our time to celebrate you, brother. Right? There's so many people that was taking their turns and beating you down, but we're not doing that. We're giving you your flowers, and well deserved. So we got to respect the process.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, because again, like I said on CGM, man, I said sorry way too much. I said sorry to some of the wrong people because I didn't know what else to say, and I have a huge heart, remorseful, and I'm loyal to a flaw. So, I thought I hurt the game, and I thought I hurt kids, and it's like, nah, I didn't, and again, I think part of it for me is, as the level of emotion comes, like, there's nobody like me in the country, respectfully. It just isn't. Like I said, my peer group, they coaching in Madison Square Garden. They're the head coaches in the ACC and the Big East. That's my peer group, and that's no knock or disrespect to anyone else. But I'm respectfully, men lie, women lie, numbers never lie.
No,
stats lie. I mean, stats don't lie. Statisticians do.
Yeah. Do you remember your first game under the whistle?
I do. It was in Millbank, and Shavon Glover, who I'm telling you,
Glover.
She that was like my big sister, my mom. Like, even to this day, like, Shavon, she pinches me. Like, she lets me know she's still in control. I'm like, Shay, all right. So, my first game was in Millbank, and I remember the only thing I wanted to do was win. The only thing I ever wanted to do was win. And from an early age, somebody said I had a really good game. Somebody said pocketbook had 30. I couldn't tell you if I did or if I didn't. I know we won. Because it's Jerry McCullough, myself, Greg Wilkerson, my man Pudge, Artie, Boogie Blind. Like, it never escapes you. Sean Wise, it never escapes you. Tom Motley, like that. I'm recalling from 10, so it just never escapes you, the purity of it. And that's why I love this game. That's why I'm so passionate and sincere about it. It never escapes you, Pooh. You feel the same way. I'm talking to the mirror.
No, this is so real. New York City at its finest, man. And a lot of guys get forgotten about, right? We talked about everybody some people get forgotten about during the process, and talking and having these conversations, because I call them conversations. I don't even call them interviews anymore, because they're great conversations that need to be had. And through the process of you seeing where you came from to where you at right now, and to show the love and never forget, that's about the connection that we need, right? So when you playing those games and you playing with these guys, what basketball lessons that you found out about when you was young? Like, what was the lessons of basketball that you, at an early age, that you found out about?
Camaraderie. You always want to be a part of something. I always wanted to be a part of family. And those guys that you went on the court with, I realized, if you selfish players, right, you knew who they were on and off the court. If this dude took a charge, you think he's going to not make a one more pass to you? He just gave of himself on the other end. Conversely, a dude that got out the way of a charge, he's not making that one more pass. So I learned people. And you learn them quick, because you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to everyone else, but in between the lines, your instincts are your instincts. And if I saw a guy that bailed on the charge, I knew who that was. I also knew that would be the dude that wouldn't hold me down outside. Hey, it's three of them. Booker, I had to get out of there. Nah, you know, are you gonna let me get jumped? Versus a dude who I knew took a charge. I don't care what he's doing. I'm not letting nothing happen to him. I don't care if I'm on his block. Ain't nothing happening to him. Nothing happening. I'm that guy. So again, through basketball, taught me so many different lessons. It taught me love. It taught me passion. It taught me discipline. You know, it taught me to help. You know, help defense, help the helper. Where are you at? Damn, I missed my assignment. But oh man, Poole blocked the shot in the back. Guess what? You know what? We got it. I'm gonna make sure Poole. I gotta find it. You just blocked the shot. I gotta reward you. That's what I've learned. That's how I try to teach. That you know, again, that's what I try to make sure that I implement with these young men and young ladies. Because, like I said, I've been around. You know, Sanaa. I always see her in the gym. You know, and I'm like, I'm working with the wrong people. I need to be working with you. You know, I always call her my last Jedi. And you know, Lena. So Jasmine, I have a surrogate daughter in here. Her name is Jasmine. Me and my girlfriend already called her Tori. So she's my daughter. Her name's Victoria. And her mother and the little girl's mother and father is like, okay with it. They're like, okay, hey, you know, Book, your daughter's here. So, you know, but it's that love that I've had since I picked up the basketball that I still have right now.
Who was the best player in your neighborhood when you was coming up?
It was a couple of them, man. And it was, you know, like I said, it was a couple of them that didn't play, you know. Marvin Valentine, you know, we had to do schemo.
Everybody had a schemo in the neighborhood.
Chris Dinkins, you know, who went to Taft. And you know, it was just like I said, those older dudes who taught me, because I got the raw and uncut in my hood, Clay Avenue, you know what I'm saying, in the Bronx. And I went to finishing school with Riverside Church and Saint Raymond's. So it wasn't like the younger guys. I always played against the older guys. Again, Marvin Valentine taught me how to play. And when I say that, with all due respect, he taught me how to compete. He wasn't letting me get on the court because I remember one time he was like, damn, they're giving anybody a Riverside bag. I was like, I'm going to bust his ass. But you talk about 14, 15. He taught me how to compete. Nothing's given to you, homeboy. But I also knew this. Him, PJ, God rest his soul. Them dudes wasn't letting nothing, schemo, them dudes wasn't letting nothing happen to me. Facts. Your rite of passage. You know, like I said, I don't know if anybody remembers Predator, who played in 55th. Muggsy.
Yeah.
He lived in my building. What? What? Nah. It would be times where I was such a sore loser. If I didn't, I ain't got next, take a bottle and break it. Boom. Nobody playing. Now again, I worked on cardio too because I had to get out of there.
That's right.
I didn't want to deal with Muggsy, or I didn't want to deal with Pred. But you know, that's, and I know it's such a long-winded, and again, I'm just happy.
No, but this is New York City basketball. I know dudes who've done that. To bust the bottle, take the ball, throw it over the fence. If I'm not playing, nobody playing. Yeah,
and I was a younger dude. So, like I said, those guys in my hood, man, I can't thank them enough, because I had no idea what they were doing. I don't know if they knew what they were doing, but they did teach me to compete. They made me understand what winning was, because if you won, you stayed on the court. If you lost, it was by, you know, again, somebody else had to pick you up. And if they already got my 5, pocketbook, I got my 5. Book, I got my 5. You should have won. And what that forces you to do is this game-winning shots? Are these game-winning plays? Now, kids, again, it goes back to, instead of playing pickup outside, they're in the gym working on a Euro step. By the way, I don't have an issue with it. Either way, what I am saying is that was our rite of passage, Poole. And it made you a little bit tougher, too, because, you know, you had to fight, too. So you became a better boxer.
Are you guys do you guys have the open runs with the older college guys and the younger high school guys? Do you guys kind of mix it up there from time to time?
What I need to get back to that. During COVID, it was awesome. You know, I would have 20, 30 guys in here. And, they, you know, again, I was so fortunate because they allowed me to coach them. And some days I was ornery, and some days I was okay. But, you know, they allowed me to coach them. We have to get back to that. And I vow I'm going to do a much better job in New York City to getting back to that where, listen, you know what, this is my church, and again, when you come into the church, there's certain rules, but again, the biggest rule is you'll play really hard, man. Play hard. So I'm going to get back to that, Paul.
Definitely. Let me know, man. I'll come up there and cover it and let everybody know this is what they need to be if they want to get better.
No doubt.
Because that's just the whole rite of passage that, kids need to go through. And then the older guys need to give back as well.
Yeah.
Right?
The ultimate.
Coming from the neighborhoods that you came from, how was your transition into Saint Raymond's? It
was the weirdest thing for me because 1249 Clay Avenue, you talk about from 169 to 166. It was like a two-fare zone. If you want, if you wanted to get anywhere, you could walk to the D train, but again, you take the 35 to the D, or you take the 41, 3rd Avenue, all that stuff. And all my Bronx dudes, they know, like they would know what I'm talking about. Webster Projects, 1330, 1408. When I went to St. Raymond's, it was like Parkchester was a whole different world, man. And it was like I've arrived, because we didn't look at Parkchester as projects. It was like, nah, this is good living. They got a movie theater there. They got food there, step-ins. They got everything, and that's truly what got me going, because Gary DeCesar, he gave all that he could, and I've always said that dude was like, a father to me, and I've had such incredible success with head coaches. And maybe because I was a little, off the wall, they had to put some time into me. But like Mike Serino, Tommy Swinton, Gary DeCesar, by the time I got to high school, I was tough enough. And I was good enough to go in there and to compete. And because if you don't compete, it can't work, Paul. If you don't compete, it can't work. I don't care who you are. So, getting to St. Raymond's, man, I was fortunate that, you talk about Terrence Rencher, myself, we were St. Raymond's freshmen. Eric Jones, my
guy. Yeah, that's my guy.
Man.
No friend of the show, definitely.
Oh, man, Jamel Thompson, Ethan, Ephraim Pena. So, my freshman year, you get to St. Raymond's, we lose in the city championship to Malloy, Jason Frazier, Jason Gilliam. So it set up it set up a battle. And, you talk about as a freshman against St. Raymond's, man, what it did, it gave me structure. Ron Patnash coached me as a freshman. I played freshman. And then at the very end, Coach DeCesar moved us up. But it was one of those things where you earned everything you got. Like Coach DeCesar, Gary used to be like, good. You can't play here. Every year he tried to give me the transfer.
Wow. I remember Tiny telling me, yo, Pooh, if Gary DeCesar was still around, he would have kind of made it. That's the one coach that probably would have made it hard for me. As far as like on a winning scale, right? He just was like, yo, because he was no joke. So salute to Coach Gary D.
It's funny, Charlton Clark calls him the father. And that, like June, when you look at the lineage of the guards that's come from St. Raymond's, and like I said, man, having Eddie Rivera, and because no one talks about Heriberto Eddie Rivera, no one talks about him. They don't talk about Mike Thompson. They don't talk about Chucky Martin. They don't talk about Wax. They don't talk about Darryl Reed. They don't. Those dudes were incredible.
Gary Massey and Darryl Reed was during my era. Yes. Facts.
And by the way, if I'm forgetting somebody, I'm getting older, guys. So, I'll extend an apology. But I'm just saying that era was incredible.
The list of great players, the jerseys that's on that wall is amazing. Like going up to St. Ray's, such a beautiful sight, man, to see that brotherhood.
Rebel, you're right. It was Steve Frazier. Steve Frazier was at Malloy. Rebel, you're right. Sorry.
Is Rebel Robert Boyd on here?
Oh, that's the OG.
That's my guy. Yo, Rab. Salute to Rab. Manifest Your Dreams. Definitely salute. My guy, Tucson All Ball with Uncle Ice is on here. Appreciate you. My guy, BMW is in the building. So, man, look, that's my guy, man. Reb took me around Queens, man. Took the Brooklyn guy around Queens. had me play with some great players. So salute, Red. Appreciate you.
Rep, like I said, that's family. And I think that's what my relationships mean the most to me. I've had relationships for a very long time, and some of them I cultivate and do a good job, and some of them I don't. And that's me getting better. And I wish I was as good as I was. I wish I was as good as I could be with all of my relationships. And Rebel's one of them. Rebel. Again, I give guys credit. Rebel helped raise me. I think we do such a terrible job as men. We don't express like, yo, dude was ahead of me. He helped.
Yes.
Pooh, if somebody was better than me, they were better. If they kick my ass, I have no problems. Hey, you know what? I always laugh at like Danny Hurley, man. The 2 games we played against each other, he punished me. He got the best of me. But you know what? As he kicked my ass, I kicked a lot of people's asses too. But like there was just some guys, Danny had my number. 5-star all-star game, he may have 30. We played in the championship of Above the Rim out in San Diego.
Yeah.
Danny and Roderick Rose went crazy.
Roderick Rose. Oof.
That's like those dudes. And I remember T laughing at me like, yo, come on, you can't guard him. Come on. Nah, he hot tonight. And I laugh at it, when I see Danny Hurley, we laugh about it because it's the the running joke is only reason I played Division I because Book guarded me. So, but
that's real.
Relationships, man, and that's real. Like I don't need to embellish a story. I am who I am.
That's real. Yo, Coach Cooper said, "What's up?" And when I had him on the show, Pinnacle Basketball, he said you were the one who kind of gave him the inspiration to do his training thing and to help kids and to continue to do what he do, man. So salute to my guy, Coach Cooper.
Cool.
Yeah.
But that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah, man. Who was the guy that gave y'all fits up at Saint Raymond when y'all played against him?
Jerry McCullough was just a dude that was different.
My man, Ice. Yes.
Ice is different.
Yes.
I want to say senior year in the Archdiocese championship game, I had 30. Ice had 40-something, all on me.
Whew.
And the saving grace is that we won. But it's like, like how, man, Book had 30. Book had 27. They had 30, whatever. Ice had a loud 40. And what, the funny thing is like, I was fortunate enough, think about this, in 1989, Jamal Walker was at Hayes. I got to see Eddie Rivera against him. I got to see Munyo against Kenny. I got to see Mike Thompson against Malik, God rest his soul. Jerome Holmes and them dudes. I watched Chucky Martin win the dunk contest in City College. I watched Gordon Winchester, erupt for
Gordy.
Gordy. I watched the whole All Hallows crew, Dex Dunbar, Party Artie, Cookie Leonard. Like I watched Cook. I was able to watch Jamal Mashburn in 1990 be New York State Mr. Basketball, not playing a McDonald's game.
Isn't that crazy? And my guy didn't either. Ross Strickland. You know why, Book? Do you know why? 5-star. They didn't go to the last session of 5-star.
Think about that. And I'll do you one better. Nah, Mash went because Mash was on. We were on the same team in 5-star. Look at the 25th anniversary.
The last one.
Look at the 25th anniversary. Me and Mash are on the joint. Mash had some capia tights. It was crazy because Rick Pitino had just either left, I think, the Knicks or the Celtics, one of those two. And he had come up to speak at camp. And Travis Best, Mash was out there. And I'm telling you, it was one of those things where think about it
was 5. They picked 5 guys from New York City to go that year.
Think about it. Red, Reese, Khalid, D. Phelps, Anthony Cade. Because everybody forget Ant because he went to Oak Hill.
That's right.
But dudes. And again, I'm not the historian, but again, I just know my time. I cherish my time.
That makes sense. When Rod told me that, and then I started to hear the guys who came up with Mashburn, and it was like he didn't make it because he didn't go to 5-star. And I was like, wow, Raw didn't either that last session. So he did go to the last session.
Yeah, he went to the last session because I know we won an all-star. We won a championship. We won the camp championship, and we both on the all-star team. Because think about it, that year Grant Hill was in camp.
Wow.
Anthony Cade was in camp. So again, like think about it, 1990.
But how you missed the basketball in New York State and don't go to? That's to show you how tough it was.
Terrence Wrench in 1991 was New York State Mr. Basketball.
Yes.
He didn't make it.
Wow.
And like all of us got the McDonald's nominations.
There
so
you go.
Like, such a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So when I got my joint, I was like, let's go. But, Orlando, Antigua, and Terrence, I definitely thought had a shot, and then, the year after Dana Dingle, who was 92. And then, think about my high school team as a senior. Think about who was in Saint Raymond's. So on one team, you had Tyler Brown, Damon Bonaparte, who was sophomores, right? Danny Basil, Dana Dingle, still there? Man, that was my son. You had myself, Terrence, Carl Green, Frank Terrell, and in the school was Charlton Clark Jr., Kareem Reed, Eric Harris, Trevor Redfern. I'm just telling you, we were set up like a true college team. Because again, in Brooklyn with Laughlin, you had Selden, you had Sherwin. People don't talk about that duo. They don't realize what those dudes were doing. You had, what I'm saying? Like you had at Grady, you had Mo Brown. No one realizes that Sherrod Folk, Sincere's dad, went to Grady with Mo Brown.
Yeah. And Ephraim Whitehead was the point guard, not Mo Brown.
Big E. 6'5", Rob Phelps at Nazareth.
Yes.
Like you talk about just such a golden era. And I mentioned guys who were stone cold killers.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you talk about McDonald's All-Americans, All-State, All-City. Terrence Bethel, at Boo Bethel. Sean Wise, like at Talent Time, man. Darnell Hodge. Like it was so talented. And like I said, Darnell Hodge he had transferred from Saint Raymond to go to Talent Time. Jamel Thompson transferred, he moved to Middletown. Eric Jones transferred, like it was stacked, man. It was stacked. And by the way, no one complained. It made us better. We competed. Iron sharpens iron.
Definitely. That's how you get better. Salute to Dr. Sherrod Tomlinson on the check-in.
Oh, that's my younger bro. That's my younger bro, but my OG sometimes. So it's like we back and forth.
No doubt. He definitely on the check-in, showing you some love. Why did you choose Florida Atlantic University, and what made you leave after 1 year leading the team in assists?
So I got tired. I wanted to go to Hawaii. Coach Riley Wallace. I wanted to go as far away from New York as I could. I was into so many other things, man. Basketball, I kind of fell out of love, but I couldn't have two masters, right? You couldn't have two lovers. The streets and basketball, I loved them both. And I love what both of them, the different things they brought for me and the duality of it. Like I loved it. I loved being in the streets. I loved everything that came with it. And I also love basketball. And it's like you couldn't do both. So I wanted to go as far as I could away, and Florida Atlantic was in transition, being Division I. They were going to be Trans-American Conference, and Coach Tim Loomis, he was cool, but my assistant coach Dave Pilipovich was awesome. I got down there, he made sure I was okay, and that's kind of why I did what I did as a coach, because he made sure I was all right, and I met some incredible people down there. I adopted a sister, Danielle Fitzgerald. Like I adopted, some brothers. And for me, Florida Atlantic was far enough, but still close enough. And at that point, that was truly my first time being away in that capacity. You know, I had been on the road, quote unquote, out of town, but it wasn't for basketball stuff.
Right.
So for me, you know, I picked Florida Atlantic because it was kind of like the furthest place. You know, Hawaii had taken someone, and then I liked Cincinnati. You know, when I went to camp, Anthony Buford, who was the starting 2 guard. It's funny how I don't know how I recall this stuff, but it's there.
Well, I think Kurt Taylor was out in Hawaii.
Yes, he was. King Kurt was out there going crazy. So, but Coach DeCease had talked about that. You know, they're trying to win. They're going to get a JUCO point guard. You know, they don't get 4-year guys. And just like Cincinnati, when Bob Huggins, I thought I was good enough to go there because I had a really good, Pitt 2 camp, and Pitt 1 and golf asked me to stay for Pitt 2.
Got you.
And and Hugs was looking, and it was, you know, Anthony Buford was there, and they took this guy who, you know, he's all right. You know, I think it was Van Exel. So
do your homework. Do your homework on Van Exel.
Yeah. So
Nick Van Exel, that is.
Nick Van Excellent. So I went to Florida Atlantic, man, and it was the first time that you go someplace and it's new. Because every place I went, it was with someone, and it was weird for me. You know, my roommate Elvin Hazel, man, he did everything he could do. But again, I bought New York City to Boca Raton, Florida. And you know what? I'm always honest, and I'm always gonna hold myself accountable. I was kicked out of school. You know, I got caught with a gun, you know, robbery. I was in the girls' locker. I mean, I was in the girls' dorm, you know, robbing the washing machines. Like, again, you couldn't take Clay Avenue from the kid. And I had to grow up, you know, and I think my greatest successes has come from failures, because at that point, you know, I didn't know what to tell anyone. You know, I didn't know what to tell Gary DeCease. I had a calling card. Anything that could happen, you know, when Jameis Winston got caught at Winn-Dixie, you know, stealing crab legs, I was like, I've been doing that since '90. So it was one of those things where anything that could go wrong went wrong. And by the way, I wasn't going to class, but I was playing, you know, and I was the guy, especially, and that probably was the problem, because I had success as a freshman that had I been knocked off that pedestal, then it would have humbled me. But I came there with this big rep, but I also came there, I wasn't humble. And everything that happened probably was the right thing. You know, I want to say I was banned from that state for a little while for everything that happened. And again, you talk about me at 19, 18, 19 years old. I'm not the same person. But again, I just realized you go someplace, you go to Boca Raton, Florida. You know, a lot of people don't even know Boca. Right. You know, they think Miami. No, Boca is like that's like Greenwich. That's like Greenwich Village. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like Greenwich, Connecticut. Excuse me. So, Pooh, that's what it was, man. And Gary, you know, I came home after I got kicked out, and I remember Coach DeCease telling me, "You're either gonna be dead or you're gonna be locked up." And he was like, you know, you gotta get your shit together. Excuse me. He said, you gotta get your stuff together. And I remember going into Saint Raymond's. I went into Saint Raymond's. You know what I'm saying? I had my Woolrich on. I had 2 guns on me. You know, I had everything on me. I had money on me. And I remember saying, like, I was still defiant. And it's like, yo, why are you so defiant? But he was like, yo, take everything out your pockets. It's like, nah, I'm not doing that. He was like, yo, either you want me to call the cops, or they're going to catch you outside to take everything off. And then he looked, you know, so it was one of them come to Jesus moments. You talk about, you take 2 guns out, boom. You take everything out, boom. And it's like, he's like, yo, what's wrong with you? He said, yo, you're a basketball player. You know that? And I think for him, he had to like restart me, because it wasn't that I was a basketball player. I was just a dude that was really loved being in the streets, who could play ball. And it's like, I felt that honestly, I did my job by getting Terrence to school. I did my job by getting Orlando to school. I never thought about going to college. You know, like, you thought about it, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna get some money. But it wasn't that, because I really felt like, damn, when I got kicked out, that was kind of one of the lowest moments, man. One of the lowest moments, because again, like I said, I led the nation. I mean, I led Trans American Conference. Like, I was still nice. I was in love with two women. I was in love with a woman and I was in love with a girl.
Wow. So amazing, man. This is crazy. And then you come to think about it, New York City has your back again, right? Come home.
Yeah.
Come home. You're 10.
Yeah.
You're 10, Monroe College. Do the same exact thing, and then you breaking records and getting into a 28-3 school record. Like
Steve DeMille was our coach, but again, like my man, I had two dudes. Actually, I'm lying because that whole team was Dwayne Core, Rob Hoffler, Spud. Like it was so crazy. They used to call us Chico and Joe. Like we referred to each other as each other's number. So I was 1-2, he was 1-5. Dwayne was 1-4. Like to this day, Dwayne Core texts me 1-2, what you doing? 8-12, what you doing?
Wow.
And you had Andre Penny, John McCord. Like we had Derek Frazier. Actually, I coached D. Frazier. Yeah. So it's like I played and coached there. You talk about number one in the country. I think when we won 16 straight games, lead the nation in assists. That's what rejuvenated me. Like, nah, I can do this, because what you had was guys that was all like me and Spud were still in the street. And I think that's what no one understood. Like the stories that people, like, again, the stories that people will tell was like, I didn't think Book would make it because I still saw him over there. Again, you're like, wait up, what are you driving? Hold on, my man, you don't work. Oh, nah, this my girl. Book, stop. Or not his Spud car. Somebody sees Spud, like, nah, that's not. And so Poole, it was one of those things where President Jerome, him, Roberta Greenberg, Dean Ephraim, and this lady, Kathy Murphy. Kathy was like, you better get your act together. She's like, point. I'm like, because again, I'm still saying, nah, I'm Book. And she was like, no. We're setting you up to be successful. And when I came back to go to Monroe, right? My mom's, I put up in a spot in Macon, Georgia. My mom's still down there. So again, now I'm really reckless. And Annette and Mike Sereno, Annette Sereno, just great, the grace of God, like there's angels on earth. Because again, she just is like, nah, you're gonna go to school. I remember Charles Jackson. I went to Monroe, so I graduated. Charles Jackson, I went to Pitt Johnstown. I came back on the bus. He came pick me up. He said, oh, it's good you home. You like my kid. And his wife, Danielle, was like, oh, my baby's home. I stayed in their crib. And then on Monday morning, he's like, yo, we out. I was like, where we going? Bus station, homeboy. You go back to school.
Wow.
So the love, like just, Monroe was an incredible situation. Again, you start to win. I start to love basketball again. It wasn't about anything other than, you on a team, you're number one in the nation, you 16 straight wins. We just were, you talk about three, four guards, me, Spud, D-Core, Dion, like it was guys that, like I said, I had, Andre Penny, Dre Horse, John McCord. And think about this, kid that went to Monroe College, he goes to Cornell. So I did it again. Right, I got him the way he was supposed to go. And I'm telling you, I take pride in all of us graduated. Like you had guys that people gave up on, who would have been like career criminals, felons. All of us graduated from college, not just junior college. All of us graduated from 4-year schools, man. That's what I applaud, because we could have easily gave up. Like we all had tendencies that were related to the streets, and I'm not saying that. Any one of us was looking for that. It called you. It was the easy out.
Yeah, those are tough times, man. And coming from where we come from, it's so hard to juggle both and have that love for the game and love for the streets, and trying to pick one. It's a lot of guys that we know who, became susceptible to those things and never bounced back like you did, Yeah.
And I'm because you start looking at guys like who gets no credit. Corey Wright went to Brandeis, then Providence. Like no one talks about, again, the same plight. My cousins. We would say we were cousins, me and Corey Wright. But again, my biological cousins, God rest his soul, Kawan Barrett. Randy, Ari, like those guys went to Brandeis. They weren't supposed to make it. Mo Hicks coached those dudes.
Yeah.
So there's 6 degrees of separation through basketball because all of us saw like, man, this is out. Like I remember how good Cam was when he was younger because him and Tyler Brown was in the same class. I remember Mace, Manhattan Center. Like I remember Cam, like, damn, shorty nice. You didn't think, Cam goes in another direction.
Right.
But think about it, it was something that the allure, man, of what it did for you, the allure of, Biggs, Biggs Burke, he went to Talentine. We used to play against each other and in Crotona Park.
Biggs played. I know his brother played. I know Bob Law played.
Bob Law, God rest his soul. Bob Law.
Yes.
We used to hoop. Yeah, we used to hoop in 170th and Clay, right the park right there. Because he lived on Finley. No, it was either Finley or Teller, between 169 and 170th. You know what I'm saying? Biggs went to Talentine. So, you see each other. But like, think about that synergy, man. That was all, your quote unquote, those were your counterparts.
That's right. Wow. Richie Parker came on here.
Oh,
about Cam.
I'm sorry, Rich. I'm sorry.
There's so many to name. I know. It's crazy.
Rich.
Yeah, for sure. What made Johnstown so special, and why did you choose that? And did you have any other place you were thinking about going, or what made that such a perfect fit?
I had a ton of places I could have went. I was going there. Bob Ruckavina and Al Maldrudowski, the coaches. It was family. Bob Ruckavina was a version of Gary DeCesar, just much lighter. Bob Ruckavina's father, on my visit, he was a coal miner. He had become ill, and again, we spent a lot. He and I spent time together. I said, I'm coming here, and when I got there, I learned how to coach. Right, each coach I got something from: toughness, skill. He taught me the nuances of coaching offensively. Like we won 40-something games in 2 years. First time we, Division II, we've been to the tournament 2 years in a row. I led the nation 2 years in a row, All-American 2 years in a row. And it was one of those things where he always was like, I'm not calling to play under 2 minutes. This is your time. The basketball's in your hands. So it was always one of those things, man. Johnstown became home. And like I said, again, along the way, you talk about God rest her soul, Betty Mae Lewis, Donna Vicroy, Ron Vicroy. People always took a liking to me. Those 3 people made sure I graduated college. They made sure I graduated college. And then, like I said, along the way, I met some people in Philly. I had my man in Detroit, who was my roommate. God rest his soul, like he passed away hooping. Chris Rushing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So his baby mom's Corey. We became cool because now, guess what? I had to make sure, like, damn, I wish I would have did a better job of taking care of her. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things that's what Johnstown was family. It was a small town. It wasn't like I could get to Pittsburgh. Owen them would still have some stuff in Pittsburgh, get my hair cut, whatever. But I could, I was an hour away, and I had a car. Like again, I still had a car. So you get back and forth, and like I said, man, it was an incredible ride. People from DC, I had a dude, Chris Rames, Dana Doggett from Mount Vernon, man. And this is what I knew sacrifice was. Dana Doggett was the starting point guard. He recruited me, and he knew that they wanted to start me at the point. He said, I wanted to win. I got there trying to now we can start together towards ACL. No. We went in for homeboy. We went in for Dana Doggett. By the way, he's Dr. Dana Doggett right now. So, I salute that. But like I said, man, it's been tremendous. Roland Glenn, my man, I recruited another dude to replace me. He was from Pittsburgh. But again, I had people in Pittsburgh, I'm running around. So now you start to say, like, all right, now you got to grow up. I then go to Spain, politely asked to leave Madrid.
What the hell you was doing in Spain, Buck?
Everything I wasn't supposed to.
Got you.
I knew a couple of words, Estados Unidos, baloncesto, Juego Baloncesto Estados Unidos.
What did you just say, fam? Tell the people, because I don't know.
I was saying, I play basketball, for the United States.
Got you.
So, you learn a lot, man. And like I said, that was probably the most humbling, the last straw of being humble, because Bob Ruckavina, my college coach, he never wanted me to leave. He just was like, why don't you stay here and coach? Don't go to New York. He was always scared for me to go back. Like he knew his father had passed away, and he was like, I saw his dad, a couple of days before he passed, and he was incoherent and he was in the hospital. And when I came in, he was like, book. And they like,
wow.
And I'm like, I'm the only black dude in this. So I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
And you get to the tournament. Like I said, we got to a Sweet 16. Yeah, I think we got to the Sweet 16, and then we lost in the first round the other time, first year. So it was a family, and then like to leave, I came back home, and the real world stuck with me, man. I had
before you move on to that, because I just have to say this. Yo, you led the nation in assists 2 years in a row. You know how hard to do it one time?
And I was second in steals. I think one year I led the nation in assists and turnovers. Give it. I'll tell you what. I helped both teams win.
That's right. But the fact that you led the country in assists twice is such an amazing feat. I tell people, if you could do leading scorer, leading assists, or leading rebounder on any level, you've done a hell of a job.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you think about it, practically 3 years in a row. I led the nation in assists because I led the nation in JUCO.
That's right.
I led the nation as my junior and senior year. And I don't know where I stood my freshman year at Florida Atlantic, but, arguably I led 3 out of the 4 years that I played. So, it was, I just always looked at myself as a distributor. And I don't know how that happened because, like I said, as a freshman, before I got to Saint Raymond, all I did was score. My freshman year, I averaged 21. And I also realized Terrence Fincher was a better scorer. So guess what? I went from averaging 21 to I shot when I was open. And they used to get mad at me because I would pass up open shots. And I'm like, nah, I got to get y'all going. I got the ball. So, that's what happened. And it would be games that, I go off. But again, I made like 7 threes. Because Book can't shoot. Book can't shoot. All right. Book can't shoot. All right. You make 7 threes. And I remember Lou DeMello he was at Rice. He talked about they went triangle too. They went a junk defense. And that's the game, I think I had 27 or 30. He was like, I'm sorry, I'll never disrespect you again. I was like, you were trying to win, coach. I didn't take it as that. If I didn't make shots, it'd have been a great strategy. So
how the hell are you so humble on the court and you're like the total opposite off the court in your moves and how you were living? That's the crazy part I'm listening to right now. Like so humble on the court because you could have really made it about you.
I played with great players. I had great coaches. Again, like I said, I always go back to Tommy Swinton, T.S. Bucks, Mike Sereno, Gary DeCesar. And like I said, man, I wish I could name every coach because I was really blessed to have some really good coaches and I had really good players. So it made my job easy, and I also had older guys in my hood that kept me humble. It's just, like I said, part of that fire never went anywhere when I left off the court, So again, 2 hours, I'm still, I remember a story, Gary DeCesar, we had practice and he drove on my block. He drove the car on the sidewalk. And he was like, why are you running? And I was like, why are you chasing me? That's kind of the relationship that you have because I think he also knew that it could have went either way for me. So, I'm blessed. And that's why there's a level of humility because I know what this game can do for you and to you. I know the good, the bad. I've watched the best of the best be spit out. I've watched, mediocre guys rise to meteoric, heights. So, Pooh, I'm telling the same story that you are.
Yeah, That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So I want you to walk, because I'm gonna take myself off the screen, right? And I want you to walk people through your transition into the real world, right? Because that's a big transition to the real world, and what the decisions you have to make, far as choosing to become a coach and going back to Saint Raymond, going to the Gauchos, and then we're going to pick it up from there. All right. So I'm just gonna leave the floor up to you, brother.
So when I came home from Pitt Johnstown, my college coach did not want me to. He didn't want me to come back. Long story short, Peter Lindsay, who's like an uncle to me, a big brother, got me a job at JP Morgan Chase, 3 CMC. So I worked in Metro Tech, and I did commingled funds. I did investment. I did some investment banking, and I knew this wasn't what I wanted to do. My college coach, Bob Rucavina, would always call me, and he'd talk about a law play, things of that nature. And and he'd say, "You're a degenerate coach." And lo and behold, man, 9/11 happened. So I watched the second tower hit. Watched the second tower get hit. The first tower I watched crumble. Found a way to get back home, and when the dust settled, a week or two later, they disbanded, the group. We were the commingled funds group, so they dismantled us. And at that point, I had to try to figure some things out. So I started substitute teaching. Didn't have a job, trying to figure some stuff out, and I was really trying my best to stay away from the streets, because the older I got, man, you just had, you had some run-ins that you just didn't need anymore. You just didn't want anymore. And I taught at MS 306, Leo Estachio and he his sister, Mrs. Estachio, I became a sub. And then I started teaching at Good Shepherd Elementary School. And then the crazy thing, because the money slows up, I was homeless, so I was living out my truck, had a bad spell, being irresponsible, again, fast money, how, the way it comes in, it goes out. So, and then what happened was, man, Julius Allen, he called and he said,
My God,
he said, come on. At that time he had Yada, Russell, Ronald Ramon. So he had the 3 amigos. I didn't know those kids. So what? Curtis Kelly was a baby. Wayne Efajuku was a baby. Saquon and Lily, they were younger. But that's who he had. And he brought me in and he said, listen, I want, Mike Davis, was on that team, big fella. Gary Sims, God rest his soul. Right?
Yes.
Gary was around. So he brought me on, and it's like, oh snap, you're coaching. And then what he did was Jimmy Salmon, he always had the spring fling. Jules went to the Final Four and said, hey, you coach him. That was my indoctrination to the fire. And then when he came back, he was like, I think you're a pretty good coach. We talked to Paul Brown. And Paul Brown was like, all right, well, you'll coach this younger group with Edgar Sosa, Louis Guzman, Terrell McKenzie, Derek Dennis. Who else did we have? We had a couple other guys. Loaded. Kashif Pratt. Cash. We were loaded. Cash left, went to play with Lightning for a little bit. Then he came back, and that group, we were able to develop them. And as I developed that group, Marist happened, because I was still working camp. So I was coaching at Saint Raymond's. I was coaching at Monroe. I was doing substitute teaching. And I was also after I got through with the public school, then Good Shepherd, I had that. So I was the 8th grade teacher. And lo and behold, basketball, again, the basketball gods, it's a funny way of working. And Rob Kennedy, who's at the hoop group, he was like, Iona's going to open, and Marist is, I'm either going to get you at Iona or Marist. And what happened? Matt Brady took the job at Marist, and he, it's the infamous meeting of, hey, if this other guy takes a job, he's better than you, I'm going to take him. And the other guy named was John Prelo. He went to Wichita State. So Bray and I laugh at that. We laugh at that. But long story short, we that's when this thing of college basketball became real for me, because when I went to Marist, Matt Brady, again, you talk about nuances. He really taught me how to coach offense. He taught me how to coach a team. It wasn't just rah-rah. He made me understand situations, time score situation, timeouts, when to use them, half court, working against a shot clock. So, again, like I said, I've been blessed and, incredibly humbled to work with some great coaches and some great people. And
that's crazy, man, because you talk about all those kids that you had at the Gauchos, right? And you also won a gold medal, right?
So I don't know why I forget about that. Paul, I want to, I'm the youngest Black head coach in USA basketball to win an under-19 Olympic festival. And, no one, USA basketball, that's real. Like, that's there.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if it was 2005 or 2008, one of them. But, for me, it was just, and I tried to give up the team to, like, there was a guy from Memphis. His name was Coach Terry Tippett. And they scheduled me as the head coach. And I was like, no, coach, you can take him. And I remember Lance Stevenson was on that team. I had Lance Stevenson, Al-Farouq Aminu, Tony Woods, Irving Walker, Leslie McDonald, who went to Carolina. Did I have Jordan? I had Jordan Theodore. I think I had Jordan on my team. And they were like, yo, what are you talking about? You the coach. Like, Jordan Theodore was like a younger brother to me, like my little brother, because his brother Kwame, I watched him, by the way, follow my footsteps. He went to Pitt Johnstown as well. So those were like my brothers. So John was like, are you bugging? You the coach. Sure enough, won a gold medal.
I want to make sure you didn't forget that, brother, because,
I do.
Your resume is so impeccable. You talk about all the things that you have done across the board. It wasn't just in one space. You conquered many spaces.
And Pooh, I'm telling you, I didn't know, because, like, it's one of those things where someone had to sit me down and say, okay, name the kids that you helped, because it's not one of those things that again, I don't know if my story's done yet. Like I never talked about being old. I don't know.
Not yet, brother. It's far from done.
So that
you're a guy who have accomplished a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's kind of Pooh. That's kind of why I think, like, damn, is this real? Because when I went to college, like, there was so much hate towards me, because it was like he wasn't an ops. He didn't go through the traditional route. I came in and got to an Elite Eight. I left Marist, came back home with the Gauchos. Guess what? I got Kemba, Truck, Jordan, Durant Scott, Danny Jennings, Chris Fouch.
And no wonder the years kind of coincide, because I'm looking at the years and I'm trying to get them straight. So I'm saying, Pooh, don't mention the year, because so many things coincide and I didn't want to, get the wrong place. But you were doing a lot at one time, brother.
I'm telling you, like, that, because that group, it was weird, because it's just like they, everyone gives me some credit, like 4 guards. It wasn't that I thought about 4 guards. I put my best team out there. So again, you started Kemba, Jordan, Truck, Durant, and a big. Or before Durant came,
first tech of the show, fam. First tech. The 4 guards situation came from you?
I don't know if anyone will give me credit.
I never saw that before until after that time. I couldn't. Now you talk about the years, I'm going to myself like, that was like, I've seen that so many times, but not in my era. It came later on.
And part of it was, it forced me to coach, because I said, one, we're going to play faster. Dave Tellep would always say, Book, with that team, you got to play faster. It's more possessions. You're able to press because you got guards. And I always said this, your 6'8" may be hard to deal with, but you got to throw it into him. If I pressure the basketball, we can front him. Now your 6'8" got to deal with my 6'1" on the wing. You can't do it. We'll play zone. All right, we'll penetrate, kick, and we're going to get you to run at us. And it was one of those, they New York dudes, they can't shoot. You're right, we can't. We making layups. I started Kemba, Truck, Jordan. And then at times it was Chris Fouch or now you got a bigger guard, Durant Scott and Danny Jennings.
That's problems.
And I would always say, like I was 6'8", Danny Jennings, he's going to deal with just 6'10". All right, cool. Check. Who's at the 4? Figure that out. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to that. Let's now get to that. Who's your 4? Okay, you going Kemba with a 3-man? Cool. You going Truck with a who? Okay, now your backcourt, you're going to guard Jordan with a point. You'll guard Kemba with a 2. You going Truck with a 3. You going Durant with a 4. Okay, here we go. Then you come off the bench. Now you start playing games. Okay, hey Fouch, you go in for such and such. Then you manipulate. You start, you sub them in for one another. But it's now the psychology of it. Like I said, that team didn't lose in 2 years. Team ain't losing 2 years.
You never know how many NBA coaches was watching you taking like, we could do small ball.
But that's but think about it. But Poole,
it's a great idea.
You put your best. You put your best group. Put them out there.
But you're not thinking the traditional. I need 2 guards. I need a forward. I need a power forward. A center. You broke the mold, man.
But they won. Those kids won. Because if we lost, then it'd be like Book ain't know what he was doing. So we won. I look like I know what I'm doing.
Wow. So being in those situations, did that prepare you like to go to the next level at Xavier?
It did. And you know what? Even when I went to Xavier, I didn't give myself enough credit because I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I could coach. I just thought like maybe I was going to be around the kids. And like I said, when I was there, it wasn't as welcoming. Because like I was trying to fit in instead of just be yourself.
Right.
Because like I said, the 2 years I was there, 2 Holloway, Mark Lyons, Jordan Crawford, Evan Parrom, Jordan Latham, those dudes that committed to Xavier. And it was just relationships. I went down to Baltimore and Bob, my man Carlton Carrington took care of me, that program down there, my man Bay, like they made sure I was all right. No Coach Corbin, those guys made sure I was okay. So, I was able to get in the DC area, Curtis Malone. Those guys made sure I was good. Damon, them dudes, they made sure I was okay because I was one of theirs. I was.
You got so much love all across the country,
Yeah, but Poole through basketball.
Yeah.
No one would have known who I was without basketball.
That's definite fact. Definite. What kind of pressure do you can you say assistant coaches at colleges go through? What kind of pressure?
A ton of it. I'm going to write a book on that, and I mean that
definitely need to.
Because no one understands the stresses of what it is to get a player, what it is to maintain it. It's like getting a big time. It's like getting a big time, foreign vehicle, and you don't service it. If you don't service a Rolls Royce, what's going to happen? It's not going to run.
Nope.
You don't service that BMW, that Mercedes Benz, it's not going to run. Or even like the big Escalade. If you don't service this vehicle, it's not going to run the right way. If you don't put premium gas in it, it's not going to run the right way. So that's part of like I would want to tell a young coach, like understand who you are, work, be loyal to you, because a lot of times, like I said, I'm loyal to a floor, and sometimes you become loyal to a person or a university, and that person and or university may not have the same loyalty towards you.
Well said, brother. Well said. We want to get into like that whole next move because now. Sean Miller gets the job at Arizona, and did he take his whole coaching staff? Did he just take you? How would that situation work out?
He tried to take his whole coaching staff because he didn't know anyone. Like I said, dude's a hell of a coach, man. And I always say this. Are people upset at what happened? Of course, I'm upset. I would just say this, man. As time has passed, I will give credit where credit is due. Dude's a hell of a coach. Like, get better, all that stuff. He's, but he went to Arizona and we didn't know. I didn't know how to get a player, not at that caliber, because you never got them. When you get players, the players I named were all relationship.
Mm.
The McDonald's All-American is a little bit different, and it was made different from someone else. It like no one sat me down and said, "All right, here's the guidelines. This is what you do." No, it wasn't that. So he tried to get the whole staff, and Chris Mack stayed and got the head coach and got the job at Xavier. He took myself, James Whitford, and brought his brother Archie Miller. And and that was our staff.
Wow. I want to give a shout out to my guy Jeff Faby. He said I had a front row seat, first class seat watching Book play. Yeah,
man, Johnny Fabergé. So again, you talk about a schoolmate, man. Dude. He graduated in 1991. He came and showed support to that 25 and 26 group, and and that's what it was, man. Again, I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed. For somebody not to like me, that's on them.
That's their fault. I always say that.
Like, because again, if you ever sat down and rap with me, if we ever had an issue and we sat down and rap, I'm the dude that's open minded. Be like, I hear you. I see where you're coming from. And, because again, I always tell my girl, like, I've done so much that I am trying to repent. I'm trying to do the right thing. But I've always said this, like, I've got this streak, man. And I never want that streak to come out. I don't want anyone to ever see that streak, because that's not what it's about. It's about saving these kids. It's about the humility and making sure that in this village, man, we have a village. Our goal is to make sure that we get the village's best and brightest to where they're supposed to get to. And then they bring the village back. And one by one, you may not bring the whole village at once, but one by one. That's what it's about. Because everyone else does it for everyone else does it for their family and their friends and their village. We're the only ones that don't.
Yep. And we seeing that, play out right in front of us in real time with, that's real. This show don't work without relationships. One bad thing, like Pooh's a messed up dude, he's gonna use you for clout. Like, for instance, when I first started the show, I had a guy working for me doing some editing. Young guy, played ball. I had him put up the graphics for Ross Strickland. He put up some nonsense. Strick calls me like, "Yo, Pooh, what's going on? Like, I never told you that." I looked at the graphics because I'm trusting him. And he's like, "Yeah, OG, sometimes you got to do for clickbait." I said, "We don't do that, fam." I fired him. Like, you're not going to do that to one of my guys, to one of our legends, and have this nonsense out there. I had to fire him because of that. Yeah. Because, again, I'm not going to ruin a relationship just for some clickbait. I'm not going to put some nonsense out there so people can view it. If they want to watch it, they'll watch it because of who the person is and through basketball.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
For sure. So I want to dive right into this, brother. Let's just give you a rundown of all the success that y'all had at Arizona before we kick off, and let people know who the real godfather NIL is.
So I'm telling you, I've really, you talk about September 26, 2017, this thing opens up, right? 10 of us get arrested, four African-American assistant coaches, and you go through the ring, the FBI is involved. It's the highest level. This thing has blown up, right? It's you fast forward, each year, things are happening. June 2019, man, 2 of us go to jail. You come home in October, and things are changing. You get to COVID, right? Because again, March 2020 is COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Things are working, Pooh. You talk about later on that year, they talk about name, image, and likeness. And I said this, man, hold up. The first time I thought about it, if we didn't go to jail, this thing wasn't happening. And I had somebody debate me. He's like, nah, it was happening anyway. If it was, we expedited it. Because the dark lining, and that silver lining in that dark cloud, pool was us. And it's done in New York. So again, I'm the only one from New York. Lamont Evans is my man. Love him to death. You know what I'm saying? Me and him went to jail. Chuck Person, you know what I'm saying? Him and Tony Bland, LA, my man. You know, that's my cuz right there. That's my man. Chuck Person, you know what I'm saying? The legend.
Facts. Rifleman.
It's done in the Southern District of New York because someone has we have to be made an example of.
Preach, brother.
So now you talk about the Southern District of the world. Again, you got John Gotti, El Chapo. It's prosecuted there. Nowhere else in the world, there. So now, guess what? You got these dudes who we kind of forgotten about. Who no one talks about us. But then NIL hits. And I said this today. It's funny. We didn't only just think about, like, people are talking about what kids got in basketball. Think about the money they get in football.
They changed conferences because of the money they getting in football. Hello?
So Cory Booker writes, senator from New Jersey, come talk to me. I should be on Capitol Hill with you talking about these things because, again, because of what happened to us. Talk to Lamont Evans. Talk to Tony Bland. Talk to Chuck Person. Talk to Merle Cole. Talk to Christian Dawkins. Talk to Jimmy Gatto. Talk to those guys because our lives were affected by this. And if we didn't go through that, there would be no NIL. Oh, yes, it would. So why wasn't it? Why hasn't there been? Because everything that's happened, right? We take something away, but we'll give you some. We'll give you a little bit of sugar. Wait up. Now they're trying to pull back the NIL because it's unregulated. It's never going to be regulated. Just like, think about this. In the last 3 years, the transfer portal, one-time transfer right away. I want to now give you something because, again, everything else looks bad. By the way, I don't have an issue with the NCAA. I'd love for someone from the NCAA, the IARP, to say, listen, you know what? Hey, Book, we're going to come talk to you in the Gauchos gym. Hey, Book, I know what you went through. I'm not even asking them to say sorry. Hey, you know what? I take full ownership for what I did. I took $20,000. I was given $20,000. Christian Dawkins gave me $20,000. So I'm not making it seem as if like, oh, man, I didn't do anything. Oh, man, I'm the victim. What I am saying I'm the victim is this. I was entrapped as well, guys, because, again, like, we're basketball coaches. There was no conglomerate. There was no syndicate. So, again, how does NIL start, Pooh? Right? The quarterback for Alabama, Pooh, he's making over $1 million. I'm not sure about the numbers, but, the big fella at Kentucky, $2 million. Now, oh, Book, you're wrong. I may be wrong on the number, but I know he's getting something. He's getting more than he's getting more legally than what he would have been able to get if I didn't get arrested.
Facts. And I'm going to say this, and it's not Book saying this, I'm going to say this. I think they made y'all examples so the schools wouldn't have to pay the kids.
Because, again, the schools aren't paying the kids, right? They're getting a quote-unquote collective.
There you go. And tell people, explain that, because just so people can have an idea of what the collective is.
So it's a bunch of companies and people, alumni boosters who are in this collective who are putting money together for conferences and or schools.
Have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen this book?
Wow. 3.4.
This is crazy.
But think about this, right? Let's say we're the forefathers of it, right? No one has kicked back and said, "Oh shit, let's take care of those guys."
Go ahead, speak freely, yeah.
No one said that. Like those kids, if I met the quarterback from Alabama, he don't know who I am. See, again, they silence us and push us to the side. They make it seem as if this was always the case. This wasn't always the case. 4 years ago, this wasn't the case, guys. 3 years ago, y'all wasn't getting paid 3 years ago like this. Not legally, not legitimately. So it's like, what do you say? How do you take that? Because again, when you give credit where credit is due, right? The forefathers, who's going to take credit for NIL? Think about that. Who's going to take credit, or who's going to give the credit? Who's going to say, you know what? Nah, these dudes were instrumental. Even though it happened that way, they were instrumental in it. That's it.
You notice when I started this off, this conversation piece, I said, so they can understand who the godfather of NIL is.
Yeah, I mean, and
they need to understand that, brother. And they did it to our tribe. They scapegoated our tribe and it's not to knock anybody else, but others got to keep their job or get another job.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of just my whole point was we are also taught to take the high road. And I've always taken, the high road because that's I always go back to how I'm coded. That's how I'm made. That's my insides. That's who I am. I don't know how to tell on anyone. So, with that being said, I didn't want anyone to get in trouble. I didn't want anyone to lose their job. I didn't want Will Wade to lose his job. I didn't want Rick Pitino to lose his job. I didn't want Sean Miller. I didn't want Bill. So I didn't want anyone to get in trouble because we didn't do anything that warranted that. I still say if they can come to me because everyone will go to them, I'm not going to them. I already spent time in jail. I was on probation. Like the human aspect of it, I'm going to you for what? Well, if you want to work, then you'll tell on someone. Is that how it goes? Because again,
that's not promised either.
Think about this, and I'll leave you on this one. If someone helped me get a job, I'm going to get looked at like there is loyalty. That's where I'm different. Because I figured someone would want to hire me because it's like, dude, he's been solid. This thing could have went so many different ways. Stayed one way. Like when you have this power surge and you just try to keep it and it, like sometimes expands, but that power surge, think about it. When a live wire hits, it could go a ton of places.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel, man. Like I love to debate with anyone or not even. As a matter of fact, let me take that back. I'm not debating with nobody. I know what it is. I know the timeline. I'm living it, still living it because, I still don't have a show cause. I still don't have my punishment. It's been 5 years. Everyone else.
Show cause. Explain to people what that is.
You have to show cause why you can hire me. And then then you can't technically recruit in the summers. You also have to show why you want to hire me, and also quote unquote rehabilitate what I did. And I laugh now. So allegedly, what I did is legal. I always say this: name one kid that got suspended.
Not one.
Name one kid. Just name them. If I'm that guy, because what they got me on was I told the truth about. You know what, man? Maybe if a kid came on campus, think about how we were raised, man. I'm not you gonna eat. I'm gonna make sure you're fresh. Did I do that? Yes. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? You want to hit me on that? 100%. I took care of kids, man. I took care of families. Did I buy anybody a car? Never. Did I buy anybody a house? Never. But did I take care of them? I did. And by the way, if it was somebody in the NCAA, if it was your kid, I would do the same thing. I can't come to your house and tell you I'm going to do something. I'm going to take care of your kid. And then I get there and like, man, that's illegal. What? I didn't tell you it was illegal in your living room. So it's just, like I said, I'm not going to debate with anybody because no one knows what I know. Like I said, I listen to my discovery all the time. I know what I know. I know who's on it. Like it's not about anything else other than I know. So this thing, had it not happened, when was it going to happen? No one, again, it wasn't going to Congress. No one was talking about this until we got in trouble. Oh, man, we got to do something to change. So what about the guy? Oh, okay.
And I also think they did it as well, just like they did with the women's lib movement, so they can have another person to tax. So you young guys and girls who are getting these NIL checks, make sure you're doing your taxes because they'll be coming after you soon as well.
Yeah, it's like just if you're good, man, if you're good, you'll get it. Anything. If you're good at something, they'll figure some things out. And like I said, I'll leave you. This is one I'll leave you with. If Chris Brown had to go to school for a year, you don't think some of the record labels would do, try to cheat to get him?
Depending on who's doing it, Buck. Because Brett Favre just did some crazy. He not in the news no more, but our brother is.
72 hours. It's 72-hour news cycles. They know. 72-hour news cycle.
Well, look, brother, I know you got to get ready to get out of here soon. So now, is there anything that you want to leave people with before we get into our top 5 so I can get you out of here?
No, I appreciate the time. And, let's bring the city back, but let's unite as best we can. Let's compete, but let's unite. Let's try to put the best teams together to go travel so we can bring that sense of dominance back, because I hate going someplace and saying like, hey, these guys are better. And it's like, nah, they look like us, man. I still haven't seen point guards, but it's always like, Father forgive them, for they know not what they do. They don't realize that they took our style. They don't care. It's theirs now. And it goes from culture, like point guards. We had, now I start looking across, North Dakota, there's a point guard that looked like, he looked like he from Brooklyn.
This is why, again, I couldn't believe when I was just researching. I was like, somebody got to be getting the New York City story. No one. Everybody, I got my guys, A-Game, that do a great job. Are We Live? My guy, All Thing Hoops. They cover guys from all over the country, but nobody was focusing on New York City. And I get hit up from all kind of guys from outside the state to come on the show, but I got to tell them this is the strictly New York City show because we trying to rebuild something. And I think you were sitting back here with all the things, negative things that happen to bring it back, to bring that feeling back. And I think if anybody could trust someone to do that, it'll be you, brother.
That's the goal. Paul, like I said, thank you. That's the goal. From the age of 5, if I'm involved, I want to make sure I give them all that I got. Because again, I'm a huge, science fiction guy. I'm a huge Star Wars guy. Whether I'm Obi-Wan, whether I'm Yoda, but again, I'm in control of the Jedi.
That's right. Somebody gonna realize it, man. Somebody gonna realize, one of these colleges gonna realize it soon, that you need Coach Book Richardson as a head coach so he can head the program and bring that feeling back to your university or college.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, it's just my guy Kamani Young at UConn too. Like,
that's my guy. Yeah,
Kamani's a head coach. You know what I'm saying? We got to start. Rashawn Stores, who's at Manhattan College. You know what I'm saying? He's already a head coach. I'm willing that he's going to be the head coach of Manhattan. Kamani Young's going to be a head coach. Raheem Davis is going. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to make sure that we start they're head coaches. No knock to anyone else, but those are head coaches. You know why? Yep. That's top 3 too. Because again, we talk about how many boys I got. You know what I'm saying? How many dudes I got? How many pros I got? Now let's what's going. And I get passionate about this. I want to have head coaches. You know what I'm saying? I want to have college head coaches. So when I show up, when y'all keep telling me no, I'm there. I'm everywhere. I'm that guy. Facts. I'm him. So,
listen, brother, you send me the guy, and we're gonna put it out there. I'm gonna put it on my page, and we just gonna put head coach next to their name so we can kind of manifest this thing and make all this stuff happen. You know, right? So we build this community, build this strong community to give back, and also keep the next generation of ball players coming through, and also again get you back to where you belong, brother. You belong with us, but we don't mind sharing you with the world, brother.
Appreciate it, Paul.
No doubt. So now we're gonna get into our top five. Okay. Put you on the spot. You really think you was in the hot seat early on? No, you're in the hot seat now, brother. I need to know. You only can name 5. You can't name a sub. All right. Top 5 ball players from Saint Raymond High School.
Come on,
I know you didn't coach him. Listen, everybody go through the hot seat. Everybody's on the hot seat, man. Everyone. Rod, you got my guy Silk from back there, from my OG from Lincoln. They all been on the hot seat, man.
Can I plead the fifth?
Nah, you got to name 5.
Eddie Rivera.
Okay.
Come on, Pooh. Yo, Pooh.
I know. Yo, I know.
Eddie Rivera, Terrence Rencher, Kareem Reed.
I know. This is the hardest part of the show. If you can talk about all the questions, I know I show love. But look,
like Alan Ray went there, man. Alan Ray, like those dudes.
I know, Book. I know.
Darryl Reed is 4, right? So I got Terrence, Kareem, Eddie, Darryl Reed.
Coach Coop, you've been through it, Coach Coop. You know, you've been on the show already.
Yo, Coop, that's messed up, Coop. Somebody shut the system down. And I got one more. But one more either would be Ernest Brown. I'm trying to think either Ernest or Orlando. Probably Ernest Brown.
Okay.
That's 5.
Okay. That's dope. And you got through it. See, it was. I know it's hard, but you got through it. Top 5 guys you played against.
Travis Best, Chris Webber, Glenn Robinson, Mashburn, Khalid Reeves.
That's dope, man. Top 5 players in New York City history.
Kenny Anderson, Al Sender, I don't want to be disrespectful.
You're not. We all go through this. And nobody picks the same 5. I have yet to get somebody to pick the same 5.
Mullen, Sweepy, and Rod.
For sure. All right, brother. If it's anything about your basketball journey you could change, what would it be?
Nothing. I wouldn't be here if I changed it. He is I am him. This is all I got.
That's dope, brother. That's dope. Listen, man, I just want to say this, man, from the bottom of my heart. I said it before when we was chatting before we started the show. You know, we're truly blessed to have you back with us, man.
Thank you.
And there's no place like home. And I told you before, I started this show. You know, in the beginning, I didn't know how long this was going to go. Like over 300 shows later, we still here. But when I used to watch the Sunday services, and then when I used to walk through the neighborhoods during the pandemic, and I'm going to these different parks, when the parks are shut down, when they let me into the Gaucho gym, you just hear the, Book is back. Book is back. He's bringing the city back. That gave me confidence because I lost hope in the city at one time, brother.
That's fair.
So within that whole time period when you coming back and this show started, kind of like the same time. You coming back and doing your thing and the show starting up, it was just saying, you know what? We're in a good place.
Gotham City. I'm the vigilante. I'm the hero. Whichever one you want to be, I'm the Dark Knight. So here we go.
Now you the hero, brother. All right? Appreciate you, man.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. See, no matter how far you get in life, you're going to have to get through some obstacles. That's in anything. You got to get through some hurdles. Nothing's going to come easy. And when them hard times come, you just got to stand firm. No matter what, good, bad, or indifferent. Because all those people that you did good by, all those good relationships that you had in the past, they will be there for you. Coach Booker is an example of that. We never turned our back on Coach. Never. New York City, we got to stand firm. We got to stick together. Keep the community strong. And always have each other back because you never know what we might go through. Yeah, there was some times in the early, part of the pandemic where we found out we was losing a lot of guys, a lot of girls to this monster that was out there. We even losing a lot to the streets. But this thing, called Basketball Save and Change Lives. So never forget that. Never forget where you come from. And oh yeah, Coach Book is back, baby. Well, I'm your host, Glenn Pooh Harding, and you've been watching Basketball Heads Live, the podcast on NYC Basketball Network. We are the official home for New York City basketball. And oh yeah, just to let y'all know, we got that merch, baby. You see me wearing it, right? You see me wearing it. Look. Always got to promote. That's what we do. Holla at me, Instagram, DM me if you want some merch. I'll get it to you. All right? On that note, thanks for everybody for tuning in. We out. Peace.